So Jay,
Rich,
it's been months since we've been here.
has it?
Our last review, what was it, like June or something?
Oh, yeah, I suppose. I never leave, so.
You just sit there and wait for somebody to come in and talk to you about a movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But luckily, it's now the Halloween season, so we're going to talk about something truly terrifying. 90s mediocre John Carpenter films.
John Carpenter's career. Ooh.
The 90s were not kind to John Carpenter. I should say the studios in the 90s were not kind to him, and we'll get to that.
You say that, and yet,
I'm actually very forgiving of 90s. We're doing a ranking of all John Carpenter movies. I guess we should explain that.
yeah. Well, what happened was, I was thinking one day, we both like John Carpenter.
Yes.
In a general sense, but then I realized, we have different taste in movies. I like sci-fi, kind of adventure-y, lighthearted. I like comedies. Mm-hmm. And you like people melting into tit puddles.
Yes.
So even though we both like John Carpenter movies, what would our list of favorite John Carpenter movies look like?
Yeah, there's a bit of a Venn diagram of your taste and mine, and he kind of meets in the middle there for some stuff.
Yeah.
But this is interesting because a lot of his movies, you had this idea. Were you aware that there were so many of his movies that you had not ever seen before?
I didn't know there were as many as there were, but at some point after, what was the last one I gave a shot? Vampires? After Vampires, I was just like,
Oh, when it came out, you mean?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I thought you meant like for this
No,
video, you watched
no.
it for the first time and didn't finish it or something.
No, I watched them all.
Okay.
So we've sat down, me and Jay, the last couple of months, mm-hmm. and we've watched every movie that John Carpenter has directed.
Yeah, directed, not written, and
not
theatrically
produced.
Released.
Yeah, theatrically released. We're not doing Elvis.
Yeah, that's the one John Carpenter movie I've still never seen, is his Elvis movie with Kurt Russell.
Elvis and what was the other one? Someone to Watch Over Me?
The same year he did Halloween, he made a movie called Someone's Watching Me, which is a very good made-for-TV movie, but it's made-for-TV movie, so we're not including it. In the 90s, he did Body Bags, which was Showtime's attempt to make their own Tales from the Crypt. And it was meant to be a weekly anthology series, but they ended up just doing it as a kind of anthology movie. It was just 3 stories. And John Carpenter directed 2 of them, Tobe Hooper directed 1. And the interesting thing about that is that John Carpenter hosted it.
Ugly? Man, are you ugly. Well, we all know it isn't what a person looks like. It's what's inside that counts.
He's basically the crypt keeper.
He's the perfect choice because he doesn't need makeup.
It is funny because this was 90s John Carpenter, but what he looks like in it is similar to how he looks now.
I know he's got some makeup on and Body Bags, mm-hmm. but I think one of the interesting things about John Carpenter is the man has looked like he is 83 years old for the last 45 years.
Yeah, it's true.
He's got like a cameo, and I think it's like the Mouth of Madness. Does he go by on like the bike real quick? And then,
no, that's not him.
That's not him? I thought for one shot it was him.
No, it's a man. It's someone in old age makeup. They have long hair, so I guess I can see how you would think that. But I don't know what that says about John Carpenter's physical appearance that you thought that was him.
It says the man looks like he's falling apart. Looks like.
He literally is in Body Bags. So his performance in that it's worth watching. The stories are pretty good. They're all very different. Like one's like almost like a throwback to Halloween. It's just a real simple kind of stalker story. But so we're gonna go through our lists, worst to best. I think we're gonna start with your list.
Yeah.
Because originally we were just gonna go chronological order of release, and then say what that movie would be on our ranking.
That defeats the whole purpose of a ranking.
You gotta build up to the good ones.
And because it's weird because there's 2 of us. We're gonna both say our list, but I think we're gonna talk about the ones I pick in order
in order,
up.
Yeah. From worst to best.
So who should? I guess you should rattle off your bottom pick first, then.
Okay.
Let's see if they match. I'm very curious what's going to match.
This was, I didn't even have to rewatch, before I even rewatched any of these, I knew what would be my last. I rewatched it and it confirmed it. It's Ghosts of Mars. I don't know if I hate it, but it's the closest I have come to hating a John Carpenter movie.
Okay. I don't have that as last.
Okay.
I have as last Dark Star. here's the thing. I watched Dark Star, and I was kind of impressed with myself because I absolutely called it. I was watching it and I said, this is a good student film that they tried to release theatrically, so they added a shit ton of padding and ruined it. And so then I paused the movie, I went up to Wikipedia, and I read Dark Star was a college student film that was expanded for a theatrical release.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it feels like it'd be a really good short film.
It's a great short film that's ruined because they added in 45 minutes of a bearded man chasing around a beach ball.
Get back in there.
Yeah, which is interesting because that bearded man is also the co-writer of the movie, which is Dan O'Bannon, who went on to write Alien, which is another movie about an alien on a spaceship. It didn't look like a beach ball in Alien, but...
Well, Dark Star's the prototype. He had to work out the kinks of the idea.
He watched it, he said, maybe the beach ball was a bad idea. It's a curiosity, to be like, oh, this was John Carpenter's technically his first feature. And that's kind of all you get out of it.
Yeah, basically it's one good bit that feels like it should have been straight out of a Douglas Adams novel.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
The philosophical argument with the bomb.
Yeah.
And you've seen the movie, that's the good part.
And then there's a lot of, spaceship shenanigans.
Yeah.
Admittedly, I did not rewatch it for this ranking. I did not live up to my duties. I was thinking about it, and I was just like, nah.
Yeah.
I know it's not going to go any higher on my list, so.
I started watching them chronologically. I ended up skipping around, but it was like the first one I watched, and I don't even remember all that much that happened in it, other than there's a lot of bearded men.
Yes. A lot of 70s beards. 70s film students.
Yeah.
They're all over that movie.
All right, that's my number 18.
Okay.
All right, Jay, what is your number 17?
My number 17 is the forgotten John Carpenter movie, which is weird because it's his most recent one, The Ward.
Really?
Yeah.
I didn't mind The Ward.
I guess we'll get to it when we get to
We'll get to it when we get to it.
Okay. Well, it's not, that's the thing is a lot of the bottom half, aside from Ghosts of Mars, there's a whole chunk of movies that are almost interchangeably mediocre in my view.
Yeah.
Where it was hard to rank because they all kind of could be moved in any order, and I'd be like, yeah. But I put The Ward second to last, and we'll talk about it more when we get to your numbered on the list.
My number 17, which I'm shocked isn't in your bottom two. My number. Do you want to take a guess of what my 17 is?
I'm going to assume it's Escape from L.A.
It's Escape from L.A. Gotta be kidding me. Oh my.
Escape from L.A. is my 16. It's right above The Ward.
The first thing I have written down in my notes here is, oh my God. I actually watched that I watched Escape from LA for the first time for this. I avoided it because the word of mouth was so awful. Everyone fucking hated Escape from LA, and it's like, oh, you know
Everybody
what?
except for Roger Ebert.
Really?
He was the only one. He thought it was intentionally bad. He's like, it's a great send-up of Hollywood schlock. It's like, no.
I watched it, and I actually watched it with my sister. We watched it immediately after watching Escape from New York, which just made it all that much more brutal.
The one thing that's really impressive if you watch them back to back is knowing that Kurt Russell's literally wearing the exact same costume at the beginning. And you're like, oh, hey, he stayed in pretty good shape for this. That's impressive.
I'm shocked he changed the outfit because the whole entire rest of the movie is just like beat for beat. The things that happened in Escape from New York.
That's and that, I don't know, I think of like a comparison you could make is maybe like Evil Dead 2, where it's like Evil Dead 2 is basically the same as Evil Dead, but it's a different tone, the budget's bigger, so it's kind of forgivable, where you're like, but they still did something different with it, even though it's a bunch of monsters in a cabin in the woods with Bruce Campbell. But yeah, Escape from LA it is beat for beat. And just because they make one joke about that, where they're explaining the plot to him, and he's like, sounds familiar. Like, that doesn't excuse it.
No. The thing with Escape from LA is, my opinion of Escape from New York was, you know what? This could probably be a lot better with a bigger budget. And then I see Escape from LA. And like, was this John Carpenter's original vision for Escape from New York? Did he just not, was he not able to capture the comic tone he wanted to in Escape from New York?
It's so weird, because there is comedy in Escape from New York.
Yeah.
I mean, like, what's his face? Cabby, Ernest Borgnine. Like, he's kind of a silly character, and the Duke of New York is driving around with a giant disco ball on the hood of his car. Like, there's a camp element to it, but it's really subdued. And it's like with Escape from LA, he's like, let's bring that all up to the surface and make it way goofier. And much like Ghosts of Mars, which we haven't talked about yet, it's like it should work as camp, and it just doesn't. John Carpenter just isn't the right director for that.
Big Trouble in Little China is fun and funny.
That's true,
It
but
has
that's
that
genuinely funny though. That's like a clever script. And nothing in Escape from LA. The one thing I'll give Escape from LA that keeps it from being at the bottom of the barrel for me is that more so than Escape from New York, it takes advantage of the city it takes place in. Like Escape from New York, it just looks like a rundown city. It could be anywhere. It doesn't even really need to be New York. LA, he goes to all these like LA landmarks. There's the plastic surgeon of Beverly Hills where they waste Bruce Campbell.
My God, they're real.
Can we talk about that? Because
Sure.
my assumption about why everybody hated Escape from LA, I figured, well, you know what, tone-wise, it's probably too comedic for people. They probably wanted something more serious, tried to make a comedy, and that's why it didn't land. But then Bruce Campbell's in it.
Wasted.
How do you put Bruce Campbell in a movie and have him not give you a funny performance?
Yeah.
The thing that scares me about Escape from LA is I'm not entirely sure that John Carpenter was trying to make it funny. I'm not entirely sure.
That surfing scene,
Maybe he thought that was just like Cabby.
I mean, I appreciate, like, by that point in his career, he was fed up with Hollywood, and he was completely cynical, and that shows in the movie. Like, it looks like he hates Los Angeles.
But this is LA, Vato. And you're about to find out that this fucking city can kill anybody!
And so that's the one positive I'll say about the movie. But yeah, tonally, like, and the visual effects are so bad. Like, the little boat thing, the underwater sub that he goes there in is so terrible.
I watched that with my sister. She insisted we rewinded and watch that scene 5 times. We were laughing hysterically. When the shark jumps up,
Yeah.
when it shoots out of the water, oh my God.
Yeah, the only thing keeping it from the bottom of my list is the fact that it takes advantage of LA locations, and I just love Kurt Russell in that role. He even with the worst stuff, he's still Snake Plissken, and he does what he can with the material. He's never goofy in it. It's the stuff surrounding him that's goofy.
Yeah.
So they didn't ruin Snake Plissken, even though the movie sucks.
We can just forget that one exists.
Sad story.
What's your number 16?
My number 16 was Escape from LA.
Okay. My number 16, Ghost of Mars. I wrote down dull-ass space zombies.
Yes, dull is the key word.
Yeah.
It took me, I rewatched it for this in preparation because I hadn't seen it in a long time and I've always disliked it. And it really solidified like what doesn't work about it. And I think it's that John Carpenter just did not care about making it, which is weird because I think it was his idea, the story idea was his. But it's so, like you compare the way it's shot, and that's like John Carpenter's never been a super flashy director, but his movies he has such a keen eye of like shot composition. He has that wonderful widescreen frame, and he's very good at like directing your eye on what to look at in the frame. And Ghosts of Mars is so just like point and shoot. It's just like, here it is. Here's the shot. And the action, like I rewatched Big Trouble in Little China, and the first big fight scene in that in the alleyway, where there's all those people fighting. And again, there's not lots of crazy camera work or anything. Like he's not a Sam Raimi, but it's very kinetic. There's lots of quick cutting. And Ghosts of Mars is just like flat shots of people running into frame and awkwardly punching at each other. It's so bad.
Another thing I had here that I thought was noteworthy is how awkward Ice Cube is.
I love it.
I thought it was, I watched it, I thought it was like Ice Cube's first movie.
No.
And then I looked it up on IMDb. I'm like, oh my God, he'd been acting for a decade at that point.
Yeah. All the casting in that movie is wrong. Like Natasha Henstridge. I think she was the lead in that because she still had a little bit of cachet from the Species movie.
Yeah.
But she's terrible in it.
She's playing generic hard ass, but it's just not an interesting character.
No, but if you recast it a little bit, you got Pam Grier in your movie already. Have Pam Grier be the lead. It's infinitely better.
Yes.
You can take a boring character, but it's Pam Grier, and she's awesome. And that would immediately have elevated it. But yeah, Jason Statham, it's an early movie for him. And it's all these people where it's like, when you explain it, it sounds like it should be campy and fun, and it's just dull and lifeless. And yeah, that's like, the best thing I can say about The Ward is that the fact that he made it means that Ghosts of Mars is not his last movie.
Come on, you mindless motherfuckers!
I also hate at this point in his career, with vampires and then even more so with this movie, John Carpenter got weirdly obsessed with dissolves. There are so many fucking just like fading from one shot to the other, like in the middle of scenes for no real reason. It's like they knew the footage was boring, so they thought maybe that would liven it up in editing or something. It's so weird. And the whole structure of the movie too, where it's like flashbacks within flashbacks within flashbacks. At one point we flash back to something that we just saw happen like 1 minute earlier. It's really like, I don't know what happened.
They kept going back to that I'm telling the story after the fact thing, and that didn't add much to it. I was also unreasonably infuriated when she made the bizarre decision after they escape on the train to go back to try and kill ghosts with a nuclear explosion.
Yeah.
And she gets everybody killed.
But it's also basically a remake of Assault on Precinct 13 in a weird way.
Yes.
So it's like John Carpenter's cannibalizing his own career at that point. Cop and criminal team up to try and, fight off this incoming threat. They're basically zombies.
This inhuman horde that keeps coming in, which is also Assault on Precinct 13 for some reason.
Yeah, they're both basically zombie movies.
It's like at that point I wonder why he didn't just make a full-on zombie movie.
I don't know.
He clearly wanted to, right?
I don't know. Maybe it's he didn't want to have to be compared to George Romero because he's the zombie guy. I don't know. What he really wanted to make his whole career, the reason he got into filmmaking was because he wanted to do Westerns. And then he never made a Western.
Which is funny, because the original script for Big Trouble in Little China took place in the Old West.
Oh yeah, I've heard about that. I don't know if that was when John Carpenter, if that was before he was involved or what.
It was a budgetary decision.
I don't know. It was a good decision. But yeah, you can see a Western influence in a lot of his movies. Either with the music or like the Snake Plissken character is basically Clint Eastwood's, and
he's got a period in the 90s where his music has got that like Western flavor to it.
Yeah, especially in Vampires.
Yeah.
Which may be my next. It is. That's a segue.
I'm still on 15.
Oh my lord, okay.
Your 15 was?
Oh, my 15 was Dark Star.
Okay. My number 15, this might shock you, because it's an earlier one.
Oh.
The Fog.
Wow, that low, huh?
That low? I didn't get anything out of it.
Okay.
The entire time I was watching the Fog, it's basically Jaws crossed with a generic ghost story, like the ghost ship. It's a ghost ship instead of a shark.
Oh yeah, it's very. What do I have it on my list? Should I say, or should I wait till we get?
You could say now. How with it?
I have it at number 7.
You have it number 7.
So it's at the bottom of like right below his really good movies. But I think it's just a really it is very simple, but I think it's just a really solid little ghost story. The framing of having the old man telling a bunch of kids a story around a campfire at the beginning, I think perfectly sets up like what that movie is tonally. That's what I like too. You mentioned Jaws, like this kind of sleepy little seaside town
with the kind of a cover-up going on, something that's going on. Yeah,
I like all the little characters in it more so than, I mean, Jaws is like a perfect movie, but that's centered on 3 characters. Here we get this whole little town, all these different characters. You got the priests, you got, Adrienne Barbeau, you have Tom Atkins, and he picks up Jamie Lee Curtis, and for whatever reason, in John Carpenter's universe, Tom Atkins is just like the hunkiest dude. He can get all the ladies.
Well, he's kind of, him and Jamie Lee Curtis, they're kind of like the protagonist.
Yeah.
And they don't really have anything to do.
No, I mean, they get some exposition told to them.
Yeah.
It's kind of, I don't know, it's more of an ensemble than a straight on.
That's fair.
So I like that. I like that little setting of all the different characters in the town, and just the visuals. The fog is creepy looking, I think.
Yes, but when I was watching it, my brain kept going to like, what if Steven Spielberg directed this? You'd have all the little town moments, and that would be emphasized. The Fog is a movie I can see being done better.
Well, they did remake it, but they didn't do it better.
Oh no!
That's one of the worst remakes ever.
John Carpenter didn't care. He got a check.
That's what he always says. Is when they remake one of my movies, I hold out my hand and a check falls into it.
That's a fair attitude.
All right, my number 14 is Vampires. John Carpenter's Vampires.
You know, that's higher up on my list, Jay.
Oh, really?
Shockingly.
Okay.
I think it might be a guilty pleasure of mine.
That's fair.
Yeah. My number 14, and you might hate me. Prince of Darkness.
No, I don't hate you.
Okay.
It's a very flawed movie. It's quite a bit higher on my list, but I can understand why people wouldn't like that movie. It's very talky, and even with all the talking and exposition, I don't know if it still makes any sense. I like that movie a lot because of the atmosphere of it.
I've got a message for you, and you're not going to like it.
I love the music. I love that sort of like feeling of impending doom. I think they build that all up really well. But it's another one that is basically a zombie movie.
Just bite the bullet and make a fucking zombie movie, John Carpenter. It's not too late. I know you look like you're about to die, but you've looked like you're about to die since you were 40.
Yeah.
Just make a zombie movie. I want to see it.
Well, I mean, you've seen several that are basically zombie movies, so. No, this movie he said he was influenced by the Italian movies of the era, which would also explain why it's low on your list. And there is, I think he mentioned like an Argento movie, but to me it's more like the best Lucio Fulci movie, and that it's all kind of nonsense, but it's got atmosphere, and I like the ghouls in it. So it's a very flawed movie that I think the strengths of it elevate it a bit for me.
It's kind of what I have wrote down. I don't have much written down about it. I wrote down, feels like it takes forever to get going.
Well, just the opening credits take forever. It's like 15 minutes into the movie and they're still cutting back to those credits.
You know, while we're talking about John Carpenter and credits, can we just talk about the John Carpenter font?
Albertus.
I had to look it up because he uses it for almost everything.
And then when he doesn't, you miss it.
Yeah.
I was watching Memoirs of an Invisible Man, and I was like, what is this?
What I will give John credit for is he was smart enough to give himself branding.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like John Carpenter in that font is it's just in my fucking brain. His name, John Carpenter 'S. Yeah. John Carpenter's The Thing.
And even in his weaker movies, it has that kind of authorial stamp on it. Like you look at his movies and you're like, oh, that's a John Carpenter movie, just visually. Just the way he framed, like I said, that's why Ghosts of Mars is so bad, because it doesn't look like one of his movies as far as like the cinematography and the framing of the shots and the music. I think he wrote the score for Ghosts of Mars, but he had it performed by the band Anthrax. And that's a pet peeve of mine, is when scores try to be rock music, it always just comes across so lame.
That's That's going back to Ghost of Mars. That's something that just stood out like a sore thumb too. The score.
Yeah.
It's so different from everything else he had ever done.
Well, that's because he had a rock band performing it.
Prince of Darkness. I gotta go back. I gotta talk about Prince of Darkness. I don't have much to say about it. I like the visual at the ending when she was like, they filmed it like underwater when she gets sucked into the demon dimension.
Oh yeah, I like that they don't go overboard with that stuff. You don't see, you just catch like glimpses of it. And those like, what do they call them? Like those transmissions.
We are unable to transmit through conscious neural interference. You are receiving this broadcast as a dream.
Where it's shot, it's like early found footage almost, like that VHS look.
There is kind of an interesting mix between like science and mysticism in that movie.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
That's just that visual of this, under this church, there's this giant tank with green goo that's technically the devil. Like, it's very odd. It's an interesting concept.
An implication that Jesus was some kind of alien.
Yeah.
Like Jesus understood quantum mechanics, and this is all sitting under that church, waiting for humanity to invent quantum mechanics. That's bizarre. That's at least interesting.
Like some of his other movies, it has an interesting concept that it doesn't necessarily live up to.
Yeah.
Which we'll talk about with some other movies on the list, I'm sure.
Okay. What do you got for 13?
Number 13, I have Village of the Damned.
Bingo!
Is that your 13?
That's my number 13,
All
Village of the
right.
Damned.
Right there in the middle of the bottom, where it belongs.
That's exactly where it belongs.
It's not a bad movie, not a good movie, just very average. Miscast lead. I know everybody loves Christopher Reeve. He was Superman. He was a great Superman, but he's very stiff and awkward in this movie.
Without feelings, you're nothing. You're just second-rate mimics of a higher organism.
The movie would have made a lot more money if it were Superman versus Luke Skywalker.
That's true, yeah. Mark Hamill's in this too.
Yeah.
But this is another one like the Fog, where it's ensemble cast. I guess he did that with a lot of his movies, but that small town ensemble casts.
Some things I liked about it. I like that the town realized the kids were evil very quickly.
Oh yeah, and everybody's just like intimidated by them all the time.
Like they agree, okay, we're not gonna abort these. We're gonna have these kids. We'll keep the kids. Mm-hmm. And then like 2 years later, the whole town's like, yeah, those fucking kids are evil.
But what can you do?
Yeah, they're here now.
Yeah.
We can't just throw them off a cliff.
And the visuals at the beginning of when everybody first just like collapses at the same time and nobody knows what the fuck is going on.
Yeah.
Like that's kind of visually creepy. There's the one guy that passed out on the grill and burned himself alive.
What I was waiting for, I thought there's a moment in this film where I thought they were gonna give us an interesting twist. I thought they were gonna like try and redeem the kids.
Oh, yeah.
And then like near the end, like last act, instead of we got to stop these evil kids, it's going to be like Christopher Reeve trying to protect the kids from the government that is now storming in to kill them.
Oh, sure.
And that might have been at least a little bit interesting just because it wasn't predictable, but...
Yeah, I mean, it is a remake, and so that's another thing, is it just feels kind of stale. The visuals of the kids are creepy, but that's right out of the first movie. Like them all walking, in pairs down the street.
Yeah.
That main theme is pretty moody and kind of cool. But,
that's middle of the list.
Yeah.
Is what you get.
Yeah.
I did appreciate the scene where all the cops and army were killing each other.
Oh, yeah.
That was fun.
We get a cameo by John Carpenter regular George Buck Flower, who made a career out of playing drunk bums.
Crazy drunk driver.
It's been a little while since I've watched it, but he jumps off the roof of the building and impales himself on his broom.
You mentioned John Carpenter regular. I just want to bring this up. this is just kind of interesting to me because I'd never sat down and like back to back watch all of one person's films before.
Sure.
It's interesting just seeing all of the common collaborators coming in and out.
Oh, yeah.
George Buck Flower, who is in this, plays a great homeless man.
It plays a great homeless man in everything. He's always the bum.
Peter Jason.
Yeah, he kind of shows up in like the second half of his career.
Yeah, well, he kind of replaces Charles Cypher in a way.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
It's like Charles Cypher is in like 6 of John Carpenter's first 7 movies, and then he vanishes off the face of the earth.
And it's not like he died. He's still around.
That was the odd thing. I thought, oh, he must have died.
Yeah.
And then I looked it up. He's still around now. So do they have like a huge falling out behind the scenes?
I don't know.
Because I noticed something. Charles Cypher's, his last movie, of John Carpenter's at least, was Escape from New York. Adrienne Barbeau, John Carpenter's wife at the time, her last movie was Escape from New York.
Oh, are you starting some...
I'm wondering...
Are you making a relationship speculation from 40 years ago?
A baseless, scandalous speculation, yes.
We're going to send this into the National Enquirer.
Yeah, Village of the Damned.
That was your number 13
That was
too,
my
right?
number 13.
All right, my number 12 is the least John Carpenter movie of all of them, Memoirs of an Invisible Man.
Oh, boy. You are going to hate me.
Is that much higher?
You are going to hate me. They are all going to hate me. Everyone's going to hate me because I have this under The Ward, I have this under Vampires, I have this under all of these other movies.
Oh no, what are we doing?
My number 12? All the way down to number 12. Halloween.
Oh my God, one of the most classic movies ever made.
Classic movies ever made. I just don't get the appeal. I'm not a horror guy. So like the whole slasher genre has never been my thing.
Sure. This is like a proto-slasher, though.
It's a proto-slasher.
This isn't a Friday the 13th movie. This is a slick movie. This is made with a lot of skill and talent. And now no one will hear me say that because everybody clicked off the video right after you said Halloween.
No, they're still on the video because they are now furiously typing in the comments.
Oh, I guess that's good for us then, right?
How wrong my opinion is. And you know what? I don't blame you.
Yeah.
This is probably just a me thing.
It is an opinion. That's fine.
It's an opinion.
It's not like you're saying it's a poorly made movie or
I'm not
anything.
saying it's a poorly made movie. I'm just saying it doesn't appeal to me.
That's fair.
He's a creepy man, and he skulks around in the background, and then he kills a few teenagers.
But he has no motive, and that's what makes him creepy.
Yeah, that makes him creepy.
He's an unrelenting force with no motive and no reasoning with.
I have to compare it to the Friday the 13th films. And what the Friday the 13th films have is gore.
Hey, Ted, where the hell's Corkscrew?
They have some great makeup effects. Jason Voorhees, he's just pure. Jason Voorhees is just pure fucking anger.
Oh yeah.
And that's fun. That's like Jason Voorhees is the heavy metal Hulk. And
see, I don't compare them. I mean, you can compare the sequels because obviously Halloween turned into one of the lamest franchises of all time. Most of those sequels are bad. And when you look at it as a whole, as a franchise, Michael Myers sucks. But in that first movie, if you look at it as a singular thing, it was incredibly well crafted and just a simple story that should have just been one movie.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And if you look at it like that, you know, that's the strength of that movie. It's just how kind of unique and well made it was for the time. But yeah, once you get into like the sequels, the 80s, like yeah, the Friday the 13th movies are way more fun as a whole than any of those Halloween sequels, except for Halloween 3, of course.
See, I know we did a commentary track on this a few years back, but I was watching it with you and I wasn't really paying attention to it, so I haven't really sat down and watched Halloween maybe 20 years.
Okay.
And I was watching this, I was expecting more of like the kind of gore effects and whatnot, and
it's
never
more about,
happens.
It's more about atmosphere and building tension.
And that's there.
Oh yeah.
Doesn't appeal to me. It's not fun. And I constantly scream at Jamie Lee Curtis.
At one point, she just throws the knife on the ground.
By the end of the movie, I was just yelling at the screen, stop throwing away the fucking knife!
Yeah. She's one of the most famous horror heroines of all time, Rich.
And she's the dumbest horror heroine of all time until you get to H2O.
Oh yeah, that's what's interesting is like Jamie Lee Curtis, she did Halloween, she did The Fog, and she did a few like early horror movies, and then she kind of was like, okay, I'm done. She went off and she did Trading Places, and she became a bigger actress. And that was like, oh, she did these horror movies, Halloween movies early in her career. I think if you look at the Halloween franchise now, she's in more of them than she's not in. Because she came back for H2O, she came back for Resurrection. She's in Halloween, the 2018, the new one that's coming out, and then the one that's after that. She's in all of those. So it's after all this time of like running away from her early horror movies, and now that's like her whole career.
Yeah, she's in a spot in her life where she can just have fun and do whatever the fuck she wants.
That's true.
She doesn't have to worry about being seen as a serious actress. She's already done that.
That's true, yeah. Beats yogurt commercials. I should point out, we haven't mentioned this jack-o'-lantern here is an exact replica of the jack-o'-lantern from the opening of Halloween, from the opening credits.
Is that for real?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, yeah, I see it.
The sculpt, the fact that there's a little cut between the nose and the mouth.
Oh my God, that's so appropriate.
Yeah. I wanted to, make strong reference to this movie that you hate.
I don't hate the movie.
It's very straight. It's a movie that suffers from everything that came after it, too. It feels so tame in comparison, like you mentioned, Friday the 13th, and then like the Nightmare on Elm Street movies are so imaginative and weird, and Freddy has so much personality that like if you've seen a lot of those movies and then you've never seen Halloween and you go back and watch it, you're like, that's it? I think that's how it was the first time I saw it, but I was like a teenager then.
Yeah.
Now that I'm older, I appreciate like the filmmaking, the fact, what they did on such a low budget.
And for the record, I could appreciate those things.
Yeah.
I am not saying it's poorly. I am absolutely not saying it's poorly made. It's just, I watched it and my thought was, that's it? Also, since I've shit on it, I will say, I absolutely love the ending.
Oh yeah, the ending's perfect.
The ending when we cut back and he's just not there, and then he just keeps cutting to just darkly lit locations.
Yeah, he could be anywhere.
And he could be anywhere, and it's in your mind. Oh God,
yeah. Where
where is Michael Myers?
It's the perfect ending for a movie that never had any sequels.
So I do love the ending. I do want to say, Donald Pleasance, Dr. Loomis, is the worst psychiatrist I have ever seen.
The funny thing is he gets worse as the movies go along, too.
Let's play a game. Catch the little girl.
I do not want my psychiatrist running around telling everybody who will listen that I am evil.
Are you all right? You're all right?
Yes, I'm okay.
He's gone. He's gone from here. The evil is gone.
I mean, I think the idea is that Michael Myers doesn't care. But no, that's always been, as much as I like the movie, that's always a problem I have, is that Donald Pleasance is there to establish, Michael Myers is crazy, there's nothing behind his eyes. But then he has nothing to do for most of the movie. He's just kind of hanging around outside the Myers house.
I'm going to hang out by the house. He might come back here.
He starts harassing children at one point.
Hey, Lonnie, get your ass away from there.
But this is how desperate they are with these sequels. The little kid that he yells at in that movie, he's like, Lonnie, get your ass out of there. He's going to be in the new movie.
Oh, God, really?
Yeah, that character, that beloved character from the first film, they're bringing him back.
It's fine.
That's how desperate they are.
It's fine. John Carpenter got another check.
Hey, the best thing about these new Halloween movies is that he's doing the score for them, and his score kicks ass.
Oh, really?
Yeah, the Halloween 2018 score is great.
I've avoided them because I don't care about Halloween, but
Just listen to the soundtrack.
something I've come to learn is that I really like synthwave.
Oh yeah.
So I don't know that I'll watch the movies, but I might actually just go and like buy the score.
Listen to the score, listen to some of his other recent albums that he's put out. That's his new thing. He's just a full-on old man rock guy now. I've seen him perform live. He does the little old man dance when he's not playing his instruments. It's great.
He probably should have and could have just been a musician.
Yeah, I mean, he's obviously really into music. It's always weird when he didn't do the score for his movies, because there's a few of them on this list that he didn't do the score, and that really takes away from it feeling John Carpenter-y.
The weird one is The Thing, because technically that's Enrico Morricone. Am I pronouncing it right?
Ennio Morricone.
Ennio, because technically that's Ennio Morricone, but that sounds like a John Carpenter score.
I think Colin and I talked about that when we talked about The Thing.
Yeah.
That it's like, he basically hired someone else to do a John Carpenter score. It's fine. It's good for the movie.
He just wanted to work with Morricone.
That's fine.
Yeah.
Another Western connection.
And I have it listed as number 12, but the score for Halloween is fantastic.
Oh yeah. It's the theme music for an entire season. When you think of Halloween, not even just the movie, when you think of the holiday, you think of that score.
But
I remember going to haunted houses as a kid, and while you're waiting in line, they're playing random music, and that would always show up before I even knew what it was from. So it's like, that's embedded in your brain as just being like the theme song for the holiday.
It's extraordinarily simple and amazingly effective.
Oh yeah.
And it just does that over and over repetitive, but I don't care, it's great.
It's perfect, yeah. And some of the other pieces of music, Laurie's theme is good. All the little, there's like 3 or 4 little themes, and they're all solid. And then he does some new ones for the new movies too. So
I'm actually honestly gonna have to track that down.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Check out all of his albums. They're great.